What do you do confidently now that made you feel weird in the past? Unwrapping a tampon in a public bathroom lol. The differences in experiences here are great. I definitely used to pretend I was unwrapping a tampon, so it didn't sound like I was just waiting for the other person to leave, so I could poop, paint/draw, and then share it with strangers. I did not grow up with art, and had absolutely no confidence in attempting it. During our quarantine this spring, I taught myself how to watercolor and draw birds, and am now selling prints and stickers, and donating 100% of the profits to bird conservation groups. I just love birds. Pee without asking. Slightly unrelated, but I used to tutor kids high school and below in math. When you talk with them, you realize how much your day-to-day as a kid in school legitimately feels like prison. You're told where to sit, what to do, where to look, where not to look, when to eat, when you can drink, and ask to pee. If you're caught losing your attention all during that 8-hour block, then someone yells at you. Then when you get home you have to do work from the rest of the day. Being an adult is rough sometimes, and it's extremely difficult when you've got actual devastating problems, but for most adults it's much nicer than school was. I wouldn't trade my current life for a second. Not really at the present, not since February, but going to the cinema alone. First time I ever did, back in 2016. It felt weird tbh. Even had a mother ask me if I was waiting for anyone when I saw Kong Skull Island, but now I actually prefer it most times. It means I don't have to worry about scheduling with a friend on what day's best. Don't get me wrong, I have still gone with friends, but 95% of the time I go alone. I can do whatever I want before or afterwards, whether to look around the shops or just go straight home. Asking people to pay back money they borrowed. Got back in my senior year of college, I used to dread asking my roommates to give me the money for the bills. No idea why, since that's what they agreed to. I just felt like such an ass**hole for doing so. Have conversations with people. I used to basically not be able to talk to anyone for any length of time without being drunk. Small talk and deep conversations were super hard for me. Now 6 months later I have talked to people for hours that I have just met about anything under the sun. Go out in public and be around crowds. When I first started using a wheelchair, I was hyper aware of people staring at me, avoiding getting near me, or acting strange when interacting with me. Decades of being a wheelchair user have desensitized me to all that. Hardly notice now. Say no. A lot of people struggle with saying no. I used to struggle with it as well. I got a lot of advice to be unapologetic. You don't owe anyone anything. You don't have to give a reason to say no. That is stupid advice. That is obviously going to harm your relationships. Instead I realized that most people are reasonable. I present my case in a way that the other person can understand and explain why I need to say no. Almost everyone understands and does not want to put you in a difficult situation. If the other person is not reasonable, there is no point explaining further. Then you just gotta say no. But you need to try to explain first. Buying condoms. I remember being 15, trying to buy condoms for the first time. I wasn't even sure if I legally could buy them. AOC is 16 in the UK. I was still in my school uniform and everything. My friends were giggling and both trying to make me feel better and also poking a little bit of fun. But although I was embarrassed, I told myself, if you're not mature enough to buy condoms, you're not mature enough to have sex, and obviously, I wanted to have sex. So I forced myself to put on a brave, confident face and just bought them. I went to the counter by myself. Didn't get eyed, so I assume it's not illegal to sell condoms to minors. The woman could probably see through my facade and just didn't say anything and was totally normal. After my friends were like, OMG, how did you do that? You're so brave. I couldn't do that. Lol. Talking on the phone. I was crippling shy as a teenager, to the point I'd have to script what I was going to say before doing something like phoning for an appointment. Then age 21 I got a job in a call center, and nowadays I can phone anyone with ease, though I'd never say it's my favorite thing. I'll even complain about shoddy customer service on the phone now. Flood therapy works. Embrace my absolute love for pink after years of deluding myself into believing I wasn't like the other girls. Lol edit. My first bunch of awards. So glad everyone's breaking out of their shell into the wonderful world of pink. Now I must ask, red pink or purple pink? I'm the fat girl in the gym. For my entire adulthood, I would hold back my workouts for fear of jiggling, sweat, boobs bouncing, heavy breathing. I get red in the face with any exertion. Finally, I got some quality clothes that fit properly, really good bras that keep the girls in check, and now I'm really proud of how hard I work. I sweat through my clothes every workout. My hair gets soaked. I love leaving drips underneath my heavy bag. Now my coaches use me as an example of what to do if you want higher intensity in the exercise we are doing. I love it. Only 2 more hours until class starts. Dance. Whenever the opportunity arose through puberty and early adult life, I'd just be standing in the corner, too shy to do anything, and caring a lot about how I looked to people. Sidestepping shyly if I felt forced, to the point of getting nervous about the fact that I wasn't doing anything. Then, one weekend at a music festival, something clicked that felt completely out of the blue, and I started flailing my arms around and making the dumbest moves to the sound of the music, and I had the best time in my life. If there is a party, I'm dancing all night with everyone and anyone. And it looks like sh*t, but I'll be damned if my white ass asterisk isn't having the best time. Eating alone in restaurants, at least before COVID. I used to be self-conscious about it, but now I don't give it a second thought. Life is too short to not have the meal you want, particularly if it's going to perk up your mood on account of worrying about what the people around you might think. Enjoy yourself and what you do. Being out in the woods. I was born and raised in New York City, so even though I really wanted to experience these things, it always seemed so inaccessible and scary. But one afternoon, after a sh*tty day, I just said f*ck it, did some research, and found a trail that was within an hour of the city and for beginners. I wasn't able to finish the trail that day. It felt like it went on forever, and I chickened out thinking I would get lost. But I still enjoyed the experience and decided I would do it again. It wasn't until a year later I was able to fully hike a trail and get the payoff of the amazing views. I got really into it and learned more skills like navigating and wilderness survival over time. Now even though I'm a born and raised city girl, I'm also an avid hiker, camper, kayaker, backpacker, and overall feel more at home in the mountains than I do in this concrete jungle. Thank you for the award. I'm super proud for my first award on Reddit to be a Tree Hug Award, and anyone reading thinking they want to try outdoor sports, please do. The planet needs more advocates to protect its beauty. Just brush up on the policy of leave no trace before heading out there to minimize our impact on these beautiful places. When in doubt, just remember, take only pictures and leave only footprints. Asking for help. I've gone through more trouble and passed up more opportunities than I'd like to admit because I was afraid of asking for someone to help me. Needing help doesn't mean you're weak, and accepting help doesn't mean pity. Driving. Still cautious and safe, but less terrified of making mistakes and freaking out. That and driving any new cars. If someone asked me to drive a truck/SUV at age 18, I would have said no way, but now I have a little experience and wouldn't think anything if someone asked me to now. Wearing pink and purple as a male. I always felt weird about it until my wife finally convinced me to get shirts for work in those colors. Now they're basically all I wear. I get a lot of compliments and I feel great in it. Playing guitar in front of people. Played drums for 13 years. Could practice with my friend's high school ska band. Could not play on stage or in front of anyone. Our drummer didn't show, and I had to sit in at a show at Temple with less than Jake. I was horrified. I wanted to put a bag over my head and played one song when our drummer showed up, and I booked it. After the show, I got a ton of praise, but I could never ever do it again. Talk to executive level audiences always made me feel weird in the past because they were so senior to me. Now, I'm a bit older and a bit wiser. I have more experience and exposure to C-suite level folks. Most of them are really nice, down to earth people. I also now talk to my dog in public, so take my previous statement how you'd like relative to this statement. I jaff if you think it's weird anymore about my talking to my dog, like he's a person. He understands what I'm saying most of the time. Barking at men catcalling me. I'm not sure if you mean barking literally here, but I hope so, because I did this once, and it was f***king great. I used to be really good at animal impressions as a kid, and one I've carried with me into adulthood is big scary dog bark. So one time I was out cycling in a dress and this dude made like a salacious yappy dog barking noise at me, and I just f***king unleashed on him as I went past. Probably not my best bark, since it takes 2 hands to do properly, and I'm not that talented a cyclist, but so satisfying. Saying I dislike football. It's like a cardinal sin in the UK. During middle school I pretended to like it to try and fit in, picked a team, Arsenal, tried to watch games. Made me dislike it even more. Through secondary school, and into my first job, when I said I didn't like football it was usually a cue for some form of harassment. Not a real man, what are you, gay? etc. Now I'm happy to say it, and couldn't give a toss how it's received. Smile/laugh. I have one misaligned tooth that makes my smile look like I'm missing a tooth. As kids my parents couldn't afford to get me braces. I would cover my mouth and laugh as a kid. Got laughed at by a lot of kids at school. Got a lot of mean nicknames. Then my first boyfriend happened who made me realize I'm amazing the way I am. He made it a point to compliment my smile every time we went out. It's been getting better since then. I'm close to 30 and I couldn't really care anymore. Now I find it one of my cutest features. Speaking in public. I got a job in sales that required me to give presentations in front of people. After my first solo presentation, the customer actually told me how sh**tty I was and how I would never make a good salesman. I went back to my car and threw up. Now I give presentations multiple times a day, and I'm so used to it that I can devote most of my attention to gauging audience reaction, allowing me to adjust the pitch and emphasize or de-emphasize different topics based on their interest. That original customer got demoted about a year ago, which was pretty sweet. Now I deal mostly with his former assistant, who got his old job. In India, you're looked down upon if you listen to Hindi music, read Hindi books, or are a fan of Bollywood. Growing up I felt the need to completely westernize myself, listen to English music exclusively, only watch Hollywood movies, the whole shebang. Since last few years, I've been embracing my native language in my culture. It's taken a lot of rediscovering my past. Amazing movies I missed out on because I was too cool to watch them. Hindi music that I was too cool to play on the speaker. It's liberating to embrace your roots. Having sex and being open about what I want with a partner in bed. When I first had sex, I was mortified with the act itself and telling a partner what I liked and disliked. I never thought that years later I could not only love doing it, but being able to say what pleases me and what doesn't. I was really always so embarrassed about it. NGL. I'm not sure if it was speaking up or the fear of being rejected while being in such a vulnerable position, but now I wonder why I was so embarrassed, because it actually makes the experience better for both myself and the other person. Letting my weird out. I used to try to fit in with everyone. I pretended to like sports, or shooter games, or whatever the group was into and talking about. Finally I just embraced the fact that I'm just different enough from the normal crowd and I don't care. I like the obscure Japanese games people in my area haven't heard about. I like collecting cool looking bottles and glasses and pretending I'm a wizard making potions. I like listening to show tunes. I like Disney movies. I like all those girly alcoholic drinks. IDK. What seems weird to people and what I enjoy seem to line up pretty frequently. Confronting the problem or the people who have problems with me than just making small talk behind the back, then offering a solution to solve it between us. Before I really didn't know how to properly address confrontation without sounding like a B***tch, but now that I've had a lot of practice in corporate, it's been a godsend. Now it's become easier to talk it out with people who work with me, above me, or fall under my team, and equally reduces bad blood in the office. It wasn't easy, and I don't think as you go older you be automatically equipped with it. But having a solution-oriented mindset and genuinely wanting a peaceful life for yourself will push you to see a lot of other angles. Now when confronting the first thing I ask, if what was the root cause of it, how did it develop into so and how we can end it more amicably. Email my professors when I have questions. It used to terrify me. Go out by myself. Even going to the grocery store used to make me anxious. Now I am totally fine going to bars alone even. I'm also very slowly coming around to the idea of dancing, just when no one else is watching. *CK at PTSD. *CK at Jeff. Compliment strangers. One time I was really sick and felt like I was dying, but a flight attendant stopped me as I was leaving the plane to tell me I had an amazing smile, and it made me feel so nice it was easier to get through the day. Ever since then I decided I would give one stranger a genuine compliment a day. It started out as very anxiety inducing. I felt weird stopping strangers' days for a second to give them a compliment. But most of the reactions have been very positive over the years, and sometimes I'd catch them smiling to themselves if I pass them again in the store or whatever, and I like to think I've boosted someone's day a little bit. Now it just comes naturally and I barely even think about it before it happens anymore. This is just something so stupid. When we go out camping with the brothers, most of them, when they have to pee, they just move a bit to the side and take it out and just drain the boiler. Well, I couldn't do that for some reason. Even if I really had to go, I couldn't pee in front of people when they are behind me, and that just weirded me out. I think it was confidence that I needed in a guy, so I was shy of that. Started getting into shape recently, and when we went camping last time I didn't even notice myself. I did it without a thought, and I felt so good that I'm not weird, I just needed confidence. Speak a foreign language. I moved to Austria 5 years ago and was always too shy/afraid that people would laugh, but I found that more often than not they would see I wasn't native and help me along with whatever sentence I was trying to say. Currently in the process of packing up and moving to Sweden, so I'm hoping I'll have the same experience there. At least now I've had the experience of speaking a non-native language and have more confidence to at least give it a try. In my culture, menstruating was perceived as profane and feminine sanitation products were frivolous. Women sequestered themselves away because close proximity to men and children has some irrational connotations of contagion and great antipathy for a woman's natural cycle. For years I eschewed the company of men and boys, and my parents had no compunction depriving me of access to sanitary pads, so I had the humiliating experience of pilfering toilet paper and newspapers to repurpose as an absorbent pad. Menstruation blood in the uterus lining coagulated, and the pungent odor emanating from me really necessitated my segregation, rather than archaic presumptions about the impurities of a woman's body. Now, I can purchase products without trepidation and concern for committing a social infraction and the opprobrium it engenders. Go places by myself. I used to feel like all of the eyes are on me in any room I'd go into. My stealth level is at 100 now. I've followed behind people that were literally talking to me seconds ago, and they still jump for some reason. I patted my buddy on the shoulder at the office this morning when I clocked in and said I was ready, and he turned around seconds later and freaked out I was even there. Like, damn dude, I'm that unnoticeable. I'd say it was cold if it wasn't such a bad perk. I cold stabbed him while he was still talking to our bosses, and he'd still carry on the conversation for 5 minutes before just falling down dead.